Ready?
Mm-hmm. I'm just in the background.
All right, we are live. Bevan, hello, and thank you so much for joining me here today. By the looks of your background, you are certainly not in Melbourne.
No, luckily, up the Calder Highway in Woodend, Mel. Thanks very much for having me.
Very, very jealous, but thank you for coming on board. Like we were just saying earlier, lots of people have been coming to these virtual workshops because this time at the moment, like as you might certainly know, with the work that you do, people are planning a renovation or might not have even thought about doing something pre-COVID, but now is that time where we've actually got time to think and really plan and certainly budget for a renovation. So we've been talking about lots of different topics, but I think budget is something that people don't really want to talk too much about, but I think it's really important to know these sorts of figures up front because we can have all these amazing wild ideas, but it does come down to a cost. And we'd like to have an open budget. That's certainly not possible. So yeah, it'd be great to chat to you from a building point of view, as you are an awesome local builder, to talk more about construction costs and those sorts of things. But before we dive into that, maybe do you want to talk a little bit about BCT Group and what you guys do?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So we started BCT Group in 2012. The prime focus on local families. We're a family business. Myself and my son are involved in the management team. All of our staff are local. We're right into what goes on in the local area. So we're pretty passionate about the west and the surrounding suburbs. We started doing bits and pieces, I guess, to get into the market, and our reputation has brought us a little bit further advanced now. So we used to do a lot of work for some local architects. We now have our own design team, which is comprised of 2 graduate architects, senior architects, and a drafty who's just been with us recently. So we now tackle the whole gamut from go to woe. So from initial concepts
and construction,
all the way through, which tends to agree with a lot of people because when you can do everything in one place, it's certainly a hell of a lot better logistically, rather than having to go here, there, and everywhere to get everything done. But it's been a growth. Each year, things change. Dynamics change. People change. COVID-19 comes across. You have to change all the ways that you do things again. So, but ultimately, we're just passionate about relationships and people and getting good outcomes in our industry. There's too many horror stories. There's too many bad experiences. And I think by talking like this, it can certainly open up people's minds to the things they need to be aware of and educate themselves and be more powerful with what they know. It certainly helps them. We're based in Seddon in Gammon Street and busily building away all over the inner west.
And I love the fact that you deal with the inner west, because there's so many beautiful types of homes out there that are not your cookie cutter. So every project's going to be so different, which is great because it's a challenge, and but it also means that there are things that pop up that you don't usually get with the volume builder or anybody else. So to know that you guys specialize in that, I think is quite comforting for a client point of view.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess having a history in that sort of stuff, and you're probably a little bit, you're now across what we do with your involvement with our company and likewise. Everyone is different. Every house is different. Everyone's wants and needs are different. Everyone's budget's different. I think in 12 years or 10 years of BCT in operation, I think I've only ever presented a tender or a quote to a client and they signed it on the spot. So that's 1 out of 50 or 60 jobs. So everyone's budget conscious, We're all careful about the way we spend our money. So. But no, we enjoy what we do. We've got a great bunch of people. We're so lucky.
And it shows.
We're very passionate, which is great.
Awesome. So let's dive into a couple of questions I have. And the first one is more about the general, is there a rule of thumb that builders like yourself use that homeowners can start to play around with in terms of a square metre rate? Or what's the best way to figure out, all right, I want to extend, what are we looking at?
Yeah, good question. And everyone, you mentioned in your precursor about budgets. And the one conversation people don't want to have is a financial one. And there's a couple of reasons why they don't want to do that. They don't want to open it. They don't want to put their cards on the table. But as a builder who's responsible for the design and the construction of a project, we need that information because we need to be responsible to either give you the correct answer or expectation isn't realistic, so it doesn't meet your budget. So you've really got to be upfront and honest with those types of conversations. We use some pre-designed square metre rates that vary from $3,000 probably all the way through to $6,000 a square metre. So $3,000 a square metre might get you a rumpus room, say a 5x4 rumpus room that doesn't have a lot of plumbing, doesn't have a lot of joinery, doesn't have a lot of electrical in it, and it's quite a simple process. So if you're going to build a 20 square metre rumpus room, you use as a budget number around $3,000 per square metre. People listen to that sometimes and go, oh my God, $3,000 per square metre. Our experience tells us that 9 out of 10 people budget unrealistically. So then they get to the stage of the design process where they can't afford to do what they want to do. So the way we budget with an everything in, and then in lieu of having to cut stuff off, it's all in there. So you can actually add stuff to your project if that's the case. We go, let's assume we're working in your typical inner west, 4-bedder at the front with the ski and roof and everything at the back. We're going to turn one of those bedrooms into a ensuite, walk-in robe, maybe a powder room. The rate we would use there is about $3,600 per square metre. Because we're working with a roof over the top, floor underneath. We've got some external walls. We're going to move some around. That $3,600 rate tends to work quite well. New works, i.e. kitchen, bathroom, laundry, living, and a few other bells and whistles, about $4,600 per square metre. Now in these rates, that 4,600 will also include ballpark figures for your appliances, your tapware, your tiles, what else? It's all the plumbing, sanitary fixtures and fittings and all that sort of stuff. But you can still save more money that way by finding them and buying them yourselves. But we'll still include that amount in that $4,600. So it doesn't come as a shock down the track. So, and then if you're going to go upstairs, standard rule of thumb, really, you're going upstairs. If you want to do anything up top that's substantial, just have $500,000 in your bank account. You can rarely. I mean, we can certainly work backwards, and we've done a few on the way back. We're about to do one in Elizabeth Street in Newport. That it's not a large job up top, and it's under $400K. So as a ballpark budget, that's our standard advice that we give.
And I think it's good to budget a little bit over the top because, like you said, if it does come under, you've got room to move.
Many people don't do it, Mel. Although I'll take advice. I talked with some people the other day in Altona, and one of the main reasons why we have our own architectural team now is because too often people will go and spend $20,000 or $30,000 with an architect. They'll be very clear about their $400,000 budget. This is how much money we want to spend. And Jack's a real good example of this. Jackie, we built Jack's house. Who does all our social media and com. Design was $100K more than they had to spend. So then we had to reverse engineer and back everything back out to get it where we wanted to. I would much prefer to have an honest conversation with somebody at the front to make sure that the pathway they're going to take for the next 6 months is an exciting journey and not one you get to and you deflate it. All the energy, the investment, the finances, the time, the energy, everything is waste. So we just figure it's better to be upfront and honest at the start and then add some more in later rather than having to have a client look for another 50 or 60 grand. It just doesn't.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And is there like a contingency figure, like a percentage that you'd recommend for any sort of hiccups and things like that along the way?
I think it's probably not a bad idea. There are some things that are unknown. land titles, re-establishment surveys, soil conditions, things that we take subject matter experts' advice on. However, sometimes it doesn't come out to be as it should.
Yep.
But rule of thumb, if we do our research correctly, do our due diligence properly, listen to our clients, do the design in accordance with what they require and according to their budget, you can be pretty comfortable that when you do get to the end, you shouldn't blow a budget.
Yep.
Variations, 99 out of 100, no, not 99, 90 out of 100 variations that we would do in our business are client-driven.
Yep.
Because as places are built, the dynamics change from a 2D to a 3D perspective, and you walk through and things change.
Yeah, it can look a bit different. Yeah.
Absolutely. It could be a window, it could be this, or it could be that, light fix, whatever. But, you know, they're little things. So it's probably a good idea to have a little bit up your sleeve.
Yep.
But I think it's, you know, it's all about that research and making sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, yeah. And
no one wants to get there and get blown out of the money with it.
No. And like you said, it's such an emotional journey that people go on because it's a lot of money, but also it's a family home as well. So, you know, you want to get it right and just making sure there is enough money for things that do, you know, pop up. And like you said, it's a renovation. Things, you don't know what's going to happen until you do knock down walls and things like that.
It's funny you say that. I mean, I'm a bloke, and I'm a blokey bloke. I've been a tradie all my life, and I've been a builder for the last 20 years.
Yep.
I didn't realise the emotion that was tied up and involved in this until we handed a house over to a client in Yarraville. Yep. She knows who she is. Fair chance she's probably listening, I reckon. Yep. And she stood in her back room of her beautiful home and burst into tears. And you could see then that was just a massive release of, I would have thought probably 18 months of stress, financial drama. And then all of a sudden at the end of it, here she was standing in the back room of her beautiful new home. And that was the turning point where I realised then that it's such an emotional investment for people. So that means we've got to work harder to get it right. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. It's a very good lesson for me and for our team.
But the fact, though, that you said that, you know, 9 times out of 10, those variations come from the client means that you include everything into the contract. So then you can go to the bank and say, here, this is how much we need.
Fixed price.
And and it's done. Which is great. Yeah. Which is really, it's what you want, especially, because you are spending so much money. But is there anything, you know, we're talking about having a contingency. Are there things that people have done in the past that haven't really allowed for, you know, other than variations that pop up? What are some of the things that people haven't really thought of that they need to allow in their budget?
Well, what we're talking about right now, what you do, interiors, design costs, building permits, insurances, which we cover all that in, but it's still a major player in our contract value. Structural engineering, energy reports. There's a myriad of things that a lot of people think about halfway through it towards the end of the design process, whereas we try to catch that up front. I mean, you can spend a design proposal, you can pay anywhere between 10 and 70 grand in the inner west to architectural firms or drafting firms for a set level of design documentation that you're going to build your house with. Should be, you know, I think if you're going to spend 400 grand, you want to be spending 20 grand on your design. You want to be able to pull it back and put a percentage value on it. So then you know that you've got to add in title re-establishment surveys. You've got to add in your soil reports. You've got to add in your structural engineering. You've got to add in your building permit. Before you strike a blow, you will spend $25,000 without putting a shovel in the ground. Chuck your appliances on top of that, some light fittings and all that sort of, and if it's a substantial renovation, it could be $40,000 or $50,000 down before you kick. So
before you start anywhere.
And to get to, like we were saying before, with that some of the initial conversations that we have with people about budgets and all that, it's so better to be able to be in a position to go, right, well, I've got that chunk that I need, whether it's a design proposal or all the other bits and pieces sitting over here. So you know. Whereas sometimes you get to the end of the line or there's a mistake. There could be drafting errors or architectural errors, and because of a title re-establishment or a sewer or asset or something along those lines. But then you're going back to the drawing board and redesigning stuff again.
Yeah.
And even if there are errors, you're still going to get a bill for doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to be really sure at the front end that everything's captured on the way through.
Yeah.
You should get to confidence. You should have the confidence in whoever you deal with that when you get to contract, everything is done. You should have that confidence.
Yeah.
There's some really good places. Consumer Affairs Victoria has a wonderful website.
Okay.
That I think anybody who's looking to do any renovation or building work should get on and have a look.
Okay.
Because it's mighty, and it's that ability to load people up with information and knowledge. So therefore, they're not taking advice from Uncle Bob, whose brother might have been a carpenter back in the 90s.
Yeah.
They're actually taking advice from 2020. The information that comes back to them is really important.
Yeah.
And they can deal with facts.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of, we pride ourselves on making sure that doesn't happen. Not to suggest that, things still go wrong. Doing a job in Kensington at the moment where we had to do further soil testing after the demolition was done.
Yep.
And the ground is soup. So we couldn't do what we planned to do on it. Yeah. We have to change our tack. And they're things that you're just not aware of.
No.
You've got to have that little up your sleeve just in case.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's quite handy, like, what am I trying to say? When people are going to get a couple of quotes, I guess, from builders, it is so important to make sure you are comparing apples for apples. Like, working with someone like BCT, it's all included in terms of all the applications and things like that.
I guess that's not just us, Mel. That should be everyone.
Yeah.
Because then everyone knows what's going on.
Yes.
It's the piece of paper. There's a couple of lines and the dollar amount down the bottom.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go and stay in a resort in Fiji by looking at one piece of paper. You do TripAdvisor. You do whatever else. I don't do
all your research. Yeah.
You do all that research. Yet people tend to make decisions when it comes to building contracts that they have bad feelings about when they make the decision, then wonder why it does go pear-shaped down the track.
Yeah.
The people that do this sort of work now, 80% of our clientele are experienced. They've had life experience, family experience.
Yep.
They're in good job positions. They understand all that sort of stuff. So it's really important to be involved through the process so you know what goes on. And you've got to have confidence. If you're going to give a builder $400,000 or $500,000 or $100,000, you must be confident that the decision you make is a good one and that you trust the person that you make the decision with.
Because it's a long period, isn't it, that you're going to be working together. So you've got to get along with them and have that gut feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And things are going to go wrong. Things are always going to go wrong. But it doesn't mean you've got to hate each other. It means you've got to sometimes have some tough conversations.
Yeah.
But that can always be done, with respect. We probably get a little bit complacent at times because we do this every day.
Yeah.
We build things every day. We design things every day.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot our clients don't. It could be one thing that happens in 20 years.
Yep. So
we can be a little bit complacent about the things that we do. So we talk about that as our team meetings and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
To be aware of all that sort of thing. But there's so many people just make silly mistakes, I reckon. And a lot of the time it's a couple of bucks. And that couple of dollars normally pays massive down the track when things fall out of shape.
Yeah, for sure. And people who are watching, if you've got any questions at all for Bevan, please pop them in the comments and we're going to answer those for you. But another topic I wanted to touch on was the grant that the government's offering for builds, so the home builder grant.
Yep.
What, I know people should do their research and investigate if they're applicable for it, but what does it include and how can you be eligible for that?
So it's means tested, which means I've got some notes, so I might as well go through that.
Yeah, why not?
Salary is under 125K per annum as a single or $200,000 as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
And that's as per their 2018-19 tax return.
Okay, yeah.
It's a $25,000 grant, and the dwelling that you are looking to get the grant for can be worth no more than $1.5 million prior to any renovation works taking place.
Yeah.
You have to be at contract by the 31st of December. It's now the 25th of September.
So let's backtrack from that.
Yep.
Where do we need to be in order to get to that point?
We need to be underway.
Yeah.
We really need to be underway, or very, very close to being underway.
Yeah.
It's our design process to get to what we have stages through our various designs.
Yep.
But at stage 3 of our design process, we do our first estimate of the project. So at that stage, we've got a relatively well-defined set of drawings. We've got a relatively accurate cost estimate.
Yep.
At that stage, we can go to contract. But it's really a 3-month journey.
Yeah.
And I think that's that would be the case with most people in our industry, in our genre anyway. So if you're thinking about it, you've got to get in fast.
Absolutely. It takes time to do all that documentation, to apply for all those permits, to even then go to the bank as well.
That's the first step, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we've had clients that we've been dealing with for a long period of time, like 2 years, that have only recently gone to contract. So this has been a windfall.
Yeah.
Because they've done all that work not knowing, and then this has come up and they've got the $25,000 grant.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. But I think if that was the carrot at the moment, even though it's still there and it's potentially possible, you'd have to be very, very organised to make sure that it happened. And all we could do is do our best to make sure that it took place.
Yeah, for sure.
Running out of time. I think I'll be working between Boxing Day and the 31st of December somehow.
Wow, which is unusual for the building industry. Everything's shut down for about a month, hey?
Yeah, and I think there'll be a lot of builders have gone through a lot of pain through this period.
Yeah.
And there'll be a lot of people, especially probably not so much in our world. I think our world's a little bit separate to the general construction market.
Other industries, yeah.
But the project home world, the Burbanks, Port Davis, Metrocoms, they are suffering because their forward order bins are a little bit empty.
Yeah.
So I know for a fact that they'll be working to get contracts signed.
Yeah.
And we're happy to do that if we can do it.
Yeah.
Because there's not often someone's prepared to give you $25,000.
No, that's a big help.
Oh my word! We talked before about design.
Yep.
Subject matter experts, building permits, and all that sort of stuff. That's $25,000. That actually pays for that.
Done.
And then you're 25K up. So it's a really good springboard to
absolutely.
Get to
and it gets people to some of those dream items that they've been thinking about, whether it's that little bit more of an extension or the awesome appliances or the higher ceilings.
Absolutely. Brock and Rachel.
Yeah.
That is a great example. Brock and Rachel, we were so diligent throughout that whole process. When this became available, that allowed Rach to up the ante in the kitchen. That allowed
and do real terrazzo, it's those little things. Yeah.
And that's massively different.
Yeah.
And that's, from a negative, there's always, if you search hard enough, you'll always find a positive.
Yeah.
And this has been the case in this.
Absolutely.
It's uncapped. They are talking, I think in most states in Australia, it's been signed off on. The HIA and the MBAV and some of the other main bodies in the construction industry are still pushing the government to potentially extend it for another 3 months.
Okay.
So from March to June, because people are struggling to get a title, struggling to be able to get their finance organised. So in lieu of just crunching them off come March, there's conversation ongoing about extending that period from 3 months. And that would be a massive help again to Washington.
And banks are going to be a bit easier in lending money as well. So what do you think?
That's a funny one. I think there's a clear direction that we need to get money back into the economy and all that sort of stuff. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I have noticed, though, in the last probably 2 months or maybe 2.5 to 3 months, the banks are now bringing in a little COVID test.
Okay.
So once upon a time, the person that could just sign off, the loan officer or whoever, now it's got to go to one step higher. So there's a little bit of extra,
extra hoops
to do that because employment and all that sort of gear. You can always follow what's going on with the banks. The banks know first before everyone else.
Yeah.
We've been really lucky. We've got Tommy Langlands who looks after some of our clients, local bloke. He's been doing it for a long time. He knows exactly how it works. So same old story. If you start the conversation about money,
Yeah.
When you start the conversation about design, or even if you start the conversation about talking to builders, that's when you start talking about your money, because it's the only thing that really is going to provide a solid outcome. It's the amount of money that you're going to spend to get.
Absolutely.
It's the most two conversations I reckon that people have got to have if they're serious. They've got to talk to a builder. They've got to take advice from a builder. Even though the architects are great, they're going to do all the design work and all that sort of gear. You've got to talk to a builder first. Get an understanding of what you can, what you can't, how you can, if it'll work.
Yep.
And then get an idea of numbers. Have your conversation about money. Set yourself up, and then off you go.
Yeah, there are a few simple, easy steps to get going.
Yeah, and people really struggle to talk about money.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the good things about going to a local builder like yourself. You don't have to go through that sales process. It's just, if you want to build, this is what we can do for you.
Correct.
Otherwise, and that's where I think people tend to sort of hold their cards close to them, because they don't want to go through that whole sales experience. Yeah. I was actually talking to one of my suppliers today who does all my custom sofas, and he says the same thing. He's not a sales consultant in a showroom. If you don't want to buy a sofa, and that's what they're waiting for, that sales talk. Yeah. And they'll go back to him and keep asking him questions. And he says, look, this is what we can do. If you want to buy the sofa and you want me to make it, fine. If not, I'm not going to lose any commission. I'm not going to do anything like that. And that's why people go through an interior designer, because we go to those trusted sources, just like you guys. If you want to build, this is what we do. It's honest. We'll be able to provide you with a great experience and a great home. Yeah. But we need to know like how much you're willing to spend,
Yeah, and it's also about a process.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to come through 7 or 8 years working with some of Melbourne's, Australia's better builders, best builders, and to learn about that process and how important that process is to everything we do. We are super processed. So when we go and talk to clients, there isn't a sales pitch. It is, if we're going to sell one thing, we're going to sell our process.
Yes.
Because we know that over 10 years, it works. So I can put my hand on my heart anytime. I can put my hand on my heart and comfortably say our process works. We've got enough, we've done 50 or 60 jobs. So, there's 50 or 60 clients out there. And, we have our ups and downs with people just like everybody else does.
Yeah.
But there's 50 or 60 people out there that I know are happy with what we've done. So, and I know that our process supports that.
Yeah.
Which is really, really important.
Yep.
And
it means, it works.
It just works, yeah. It's taken a long time to get it right. And it's never going to be 100% right.
No.
You still have to keep, it's got to revise these.
Progress. Yeah.
Change that. I was talking to Mick about that today. The fact that, at the moment, we're very close to having it bang on.
Yep.
Let's not muck around with it if we don't have to. And when we need to,
just fine tune it. Yep.
Yeah, and then keep rolling on. And I guess that comes through also with the design crew. Having an artistic, it's different for a builder. I mean, I'm a really black and white person. It is,
yep,
or it isn't. So we eliminate the grey section, and life can be very, very simple. But now that we've got the artistic architects that work with us as well, so we have that flair and artistic passion that sits over here.
Yeah.
You have the black and white facts of what it takes, how much it costs, how long it's going to take, and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So to be able to bring all those elements now into a group of, there's 30 of us now. You include the site team, all that sort of stuff.
It's
really dynamic people.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. It's fun to see, and it's fun to see them evolve, which I think is one of the most important parts.
Yeah, because when you're building, you deal with everybody in the group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big I still come out and do the initial consults with Anders. Anders has been with us for probably coming up to 2 months now. So he's primarily, he looks after our client relationships from initial consult all the way through to the design phase into construction. Then we hand the job over from the construction team to from the design team or the admin team to the construction team. So we separate that all the way through.
Yep.
So him and I go out, we went and chatted to a lovely couple in Newport yesterday afternoon. It was awesome. I go out to look at the job. I go out to make sure that it's possible. And as will, provide insight into, the how and why, and our our management platform, our code structure, which again, you're all over because you get to
very
see
easy to
pieces
use.
of our business.
Yeah.
So it's all about that. It's all about making it simple for people.
Yeah. All right, we've got a couple of questions here. So Sarah Curtin's asking, just wondering if you cater to people in outer west suburbs. So where is your catchment area?
Well, that's a bloody good question, Sarah. We're currently a young fella that I've known for a long time, and his wife. We did a design for a job in Werribee.
Yep.
So we decided halfway through the design process that we are going to build it. So we do some in Point Cook. We've got a couple of things going in Altona Meadows. So we want to see how we go logistically to see exactly what takes place. We're very lucky, and sometimes I can walk from our office in Gammon Street. I can walk to 6 jobs in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So when you talk about logistics, it's so simple to manage people, manage staff, manage placement, all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
But we think we've almost got it right with our internal process, the way that we work through all the relevant stages to expand our area. We're looking at doing, we consider doing knockdown rebuild. We're good at doing what we do. So rather than start doing something completely new, we'll open our eyes a little bit further to stretch the boundaries potentially. It would all depend on the job as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's about finding the right trades, getting there. Like you said, it's all logistics.
Absolutely. We're lucky, Mel. We employ a dozen carpenters, we employ 2 labourers. We now employ a painter, and we now employ a waterproofer. So the more of those people that we employ, they learn our way. They're on the job from day one to day end. So to be able to pick them up off a job when a completion to go to a new one, they're the things that we manage really difficult, or manage really hard to make sure we get it right.
Yeah. All right. Jessica's saying, from what I've researched, not one person has used that government building grant. Interesting. Okay. So
no, I know of one. In fact, I know of 2 now.
Yeah.
The bureaucratic process behind it is slow.
Okay.
But I do know of 2 that have actually got it.
Yeah. There are a few criteria you've got to meet, and
it's a little bit different too, because like if you go back to the way they used to do the first home buy grant, the bank would give the money as part of the building contract. Whereas with this one, the 25K goes to the homeowner.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different the way they manage through this.
Yeah, sure.
You've got to think about a lot of other things that have happened through this process. A lot of it was very ad hoc. Bang, what can we do? We'll do that. And then everyone rewinds to think, right, now we said it, how are we going to do it? So they're still ironing through those things as well.
Yeah. So, we weren't expected to be into this, in these predicaments. So, all right. Well, I think that's all the questions and things we've covered. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about in particular with budgets, or anyone looking to start the renovation process? Any sort of
homework? Homework.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power, and it's important that you take it from the right people.
Yeah.
Because the more knowledge you have, it's like anything. The more knowledge you have about making a decision, the better it is for you to be able to make that decision.
Yeah.
There's so much. I mean, social media is a wonderful thing. It's a great thing.
Yeah.
But I look at a lot of the inner west stuff. I look at some of the building renovation stuff. There's a Facebook group.
All those forums,
Yeah, and often it's very rare that I'll actually jump in. But when I see somebody delivering absolute junk information,
then
I will, because I think it's only fair that the people that are looking to either invest money with someone need to be sure of what they're doing. So there's a couple of things that you really got to be aware of. No matter what you do, you've got to make sure that the people you're doing with are registered building practitioners. And it's easy to find out whether they are registered building practitioners. VBA, or the Victorian Building Authority, has a website, and they have a find a practitioner engine in that website. So you can put my name into it, press a button, and it'll bring up my registration. It'll bring up our commercial one and my personal one. So that's really important that you understand that. Local people for local jobs, because we get it. We've been dealing with it for a long time. We understand it. Too often, not so much now, but when we were doing work from other architects and things like that, there'd be designers from other parts of, metropolitan Melbourne. There'd be structural engineers from other parts from Bayswater and Dandenong and all that sort of stuff. They just didn't have the local knowledge of how it works. So get together with somebody who's got a good relationship with local engineers, local building surveyors, local everything. Now, we're a really good relationship with local building surveyors. He's cut back a little bit now. But you've just got to be really, really careful about the decisions you make, and just do your homework. That's really important. Look at. I mean, I say to people, we have to turn a lot of people down now because they'll come to us with their own drawings. And everyone asks the same question: Do you recommend anybody? And I don't know enough about the other guys in our marketplace. I know there's a couple that I do refer, but I don't know enough about their businesses. Okay. To do it, positively. But I say to them, social media, it's a great tool. And I'll say, sometimes I say, well, that's how we got you. So you can still go back to social media, and if you find someone who gives you a referral, take it offline, private message them, strike up a conversation, and talk to people that have actually dealt with the builder. We spoke to a lady the other day, and she said, I saw a lot of references on Facebook when I put you on there, but none of those people had actually used you. So they were your friends or your whatever. So I gave her a couple of people. She made, she had a conversation with two lots of different people, one that we'd done a job for, and one we were about to start. And she satisfied herself that was enough. So she did her own research. It's so critical to do that. Many people just rush. I mean, I maintain this. People spend more time researching holidays than they do entering into a $500,000 building contract. And I just don't understand it. It's really, really crazy. I used to do a lot of consulting, and I'd go in at the end of a job, there'd be a dispute with the builder, and intelligent people would say, we felt really bad about this when we signed the contract. And so my first rule would be, or my first line back would be, so why did you do it? You knew it was going to go bad. What was your motivator for doing it? Oh, it was $15,000 cheaper. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. It's the gut. The gut is never wrong. And if you get a bad feeling about someone, then you just move on. And you go somewhere else until you find that person that you're really, really confident with. It's no different to what you do with your clients. You've got a good reputation. You've got good experience. You've got great exposure. People love that. That's why people go to you, Mel. That's why they now start to come to us, because we've been around for a little while.
Long time.
We understand our stuff. I'm not in the. I'm a pretty straight shooter. It is what it is. Sometimes you sort of need that. It's fraught with danger. Great place to come to work.
It is. And I love working with you guys. And this is not a sales pitch. It's not why we did the video, but I love that I'm a local myself, and, everything is about the inner west. And you don't get that with lots of builders. So that's a really good selling point. It's very community driven.
Yeah, we do that. We do a lot. We give a lot back to the community. We sponsor, in the inner west community. We've done some stuff with some of the schools, all that sort of thing. So it's a genuine interest. I lived in the bloody inner west forever. It's only recently since. Glad I did. Then we're now out of stage 4.
Look at us.
No, it's really
awesome, Bev. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And
if anyone wants any info, come through email. They can go to you, and we can sort them out with whatever they need.
Yeah, I'll pop up your social media links and website and things like that as well. So if you want to have a chat to Bev, by all means. But thank you again.
My pleasure.
And any more questions, pop them in the comments, and we'll be able to get back to you. Thank you.
Lovely.
Bye.